Professor Amar Nayak, who's the NABARD Chair Professor here in XIMB, who teaches strategic management to students here, and who's also involved with a producer company initiative in a tribal pocket of Odisha called Navajyoti Producer Company. He will be giving a keynote, and that's for 30 minutes. And we have Ms. Anita Paul from Ranikhet in Uttarakhand, who will present about Mahila Umang Producer Company. We have Arun Ambati from Hyderabad, who will talk about Chetna Organic, and Bablu Ganguly from Timbuktu Collective. These are the three presentations. We're thankful that Dr. Sudha Narayan from IGIDR has agreed to be a discussant. We'll hear from the discussant and then we'll have the chair's closing remarks. I hand this over to you.
Very good morning to all of you. Now that we are running short of time, probably 10 minutes behind schedule, may I call upon Professor Amar Nayak for the keynote.
It's a great privilege for me to be here and to learn from you, Radha. The process of sharing, I will definitely learn something. I greatly appreciate my colleague Shambhu. It's really difficult in this kind of environment to allow your colleague to give a keynote. And I'm completely a new baby to this subject, compared to what Shambhu has been. And I thank Kavita for facilitating this and giving this opportunity. It's been a very, very short journey for me, and many of you are into this subject for decades together. So if I can at least inspire 1% or provide additional 0.5% to your understanding during 30 minutes, I think I'm happy. So whatever I speak would be very, very minimal in terms of what you want to know. But what we saw in that film, Deccan Development Society's marketing, is what we began with about 6 years ago when our partners and very important people right there on the ground, Father Dustin and Father Joy over there. And we started with that, and of course Guruvila, who left all things and he come back to work with us. So there is a huge support base to our attempt. We started with marketing, but trying to do that, we have, I have traveled a far off distance to try to understand what are the challenges. So it's more of a systems view that I will present here, rather than just the problem of marketing, which is linked to many other problems. That's where I think Kavita thought I must come in and share some of my thoughts. So it's just not institutional asymmetries, but problems in institutions, but also in organizations. And that's probably the reason why the last part of selling, we produce, and increasing the net income, not income, but net income of the farmers, especially small farmers, is a huge challenge. So what I do is I look at 4 parts, and so you just close me, stop me wherever I'm each time. There are 4 issues there. When we look at, we want to look at increase the net income of the farmers. That's to exchange the market system. But for that, we have to look at what are the kind of conditions in which this small producer is located. Then we look at what are the institutional mechanisms that we have in place, or we have developed. Long history, from 1904, we have had various forms of institutional mechanisms to facilitate that. But why have we not succeeded? And also, there is an issue of how are we trying to organize these farmers? What are the design issues in organizing these farmers? So there are these background problems before you come into actually seeing that it results to net income increase for the small producers. And also in between, this academic or scholarship, are they able to provide the clarity to the policymakers in guiding them correctly on how they should go about it? Because all the people are at part of this issue. So it's to me a small farmer, a small older farmer, I would call a small producer who may be even an artist, doesn't have land but he produces. So the small producer, which includes farmer as well as, I think the latest definition of farmer includes all this as well as city. So this is the kind of situation that he's or sees into. And the community as a whole is into these kind of problems. There are a number of holes in a half-baked pot, and they're trying to fill water, and they're trying to fill resources, they're trying to fill capacity, and you know what can happen. I think this is easy to appreciate it. All of you are realizing this. There is another very powerful institution which exists in their setting. This is the local sahukar or local trader. It's a fantastic traditional institution. It's locally based, not based in Bhubaneswar and trying to do something. It is highly efficient. It is 24/7 delivery service. It provides service at any time of the day and year. And it provides all kinds of services. Credit, purchases from the farmer, and also supplies whatever the farmer requires. And credit, not just production credit, which NABARD may be offering. It provides consumption credit, including emergency credit, all kinds of credit. So it's extremely a fantastic institution which exists on the ground, and is able to support all the necessities of this poor or resource poor farmer out there. And therefore, it's very powerful. And therefore, even if it's scarcity, they have to live together. They have to sleep with the enemy. And this is the institution which exists, and no institution today of the government or an NGO actually can replace it, has been able to replace it. So this is it starts locally what is the kind of conditions these small producers face. This is very well understood, you know, the prices keep on increasing at the market, but there is no farm gate price increase. And then obviously there is no incentive for the farmers to produce, and therefore you out-migrate from its own location and do something else, get to an urban location and do something else. If you look at the farmers, the majority of the 80% or more are small producers among the farmers that we see. And rich and large farmers are again small, and poor and vulnerable are also a small segment, but the danger is most are getting into that vulnerable position. And monsoon and market is understood very clearly as the problems of these farmers. In addition, we can see there are other problems that they are actually exposed to. The factor market, input factor market is a problem. Even the product market is a problem. So no good prices that they get from the market. And of course the weather and climate risks are all there. And they are also, they lose almost 30% of their time because of poor health. Most of these poor farmers lose 30% of their time off from their normal engagement because of poor health. And the future, long-term impact is to see because of poor education, there is no chance of long-term growth for this community because primary education is at the weakest point that you can see. And that all is leading to, the other factor that is working around is the huge globalization process that is changing. And the culture of globalization is very different from the culture in which these communities are located. And therefore, huge pressure from outside, and they're actually squeezed from all ends. And actually it's a losing game that they're trying to play. Unless something dramatic, unless something very, very significant to individual efforts are made, I think it's a losing battle that they're trying to end. And in addition, when the global market is highly specialized, the small producer is actually survives at his best when he is biodiversified, when he or she adopts integrated agriculture, and when he or she actually uses economies of scope and not scale. The typical difference between a Unilever as a company and a small farmer as a producer are different because Unilever does not produce to eat that soap. The small farmer actually produces to eat. It's a completely different culture in which the two operate. One is interested in rotate capital, the other is not really looking at that first. First is consumption, and then surplus is to the market risk or other exchanges. Now, from all around, this person is actually in a very difficult situation. If you look at the institutional and organizational arrangements, of course, I have a stock paper I tried to write something around 5-7 pages. I found there's a lot more things there in the institutional issues than the organizational issues. But this is a very draft working paper, I may say. I've not been able to even read the last part again. I finished it today morning. So it's available there. There are a number of things there. I think all of you are fully aware of this. So just to put things in context, I'm repeating this point. Cooperative Acts, 1904 began, 1912 was revised, 1937 RTI came in to say that they did what it could. Facts, again, 94,000 facts are all over. This is important when you go back to BDS and say, what the kind of homicide that are into and what are the institutions that already exist which we can work on. Following that, we of course integrated rural development 1978, NABARD was created 1982, again for the farmers there. 73rd Amendment of the Constitution going PRI again, facilitating decentralization. SDSY again, more holistic program 1999, went into NDNRED 2005, RTI to facilitate the transaction improvement of the people 2005. All of these now converts to NRLM 2010. There are many such relating to specifically to marketing, agricultural produce marketing committee, RMCs, regulated marketing committees, have been there for now so many decades. Very interestingly, when we look at how it's not that the scholarship does not advise directly on this. On cooperatives, at least 3 out of 25 studies that were made in the last about 100 years, or committees that have been set to study and suggest improvements in cooperatives, have suggested clearly the size of the cooperatives is extremely important. They have indicated numbers. Even under the APMC, suggestions have been made in 1976 to say what should be the size of the market. That's where the Deccan Development Society is saying that look, we want to see these markets like this and not really too far. I think it makes a lot of sense. But it's been said 1976 already, and that the policy does not really take into this consideration because market forces have